that you've been enjoying this, well, in the UK anyway, sunny bank holiday Monday, and I'm really pleased to be doing this thoughts and findings of Stella's regression of radical cartoons. I've got some clips lined up for those that haven't seen it. Do come on and also say hello. I'm running this off batteries today, the camera, so if I go blank for a while, it's okay, I haven't disappeared. I'm just going to quickly swap the batteries around. So just want to let everybody know that. We also have the wonderful artists Lana and Jeff, and they're both, you've seen them in the Warren Files, and I've been invited twice on the Warren Files. And hi Anna, I hope you're doing really good. Nice to see you here. And I'm really looking forward to this. And I've done breakdowns with people doing their regressions beforehand, but it's usually been a one-to-one basis. But it's nice to have a whole group of people here today. So thank you everybody for joining, and we're going to slowly start introducing ourselves. I want to say hello to Pat. Hope you enjoy the evening. So Radical Cartoons, Stella booked me for past life regression. Always been interested in spiritual things. She's a wonderful artist. Writes and draws very amusing cartoons, and also as well some cartoons for books covers as well, and spiritual influence. There's also a hypnotic gift on the channel, so do check out Radical Cartoons on YouTube. She's done this book, which she kindly, when she came to me 2020, the year we were all cancelled, that was given to me as a gift when she turned up for the regression. So I'm going to put up a video of just a few of your videos, Stella. Sorry, videos, a few of your pieces of art, just about sort of 6 of them. And I thought it'd be nice if you just sort of say where people can see you, your work, and how they can follow you.
Well, most of these cartoons and things are on my website, which showcases my work over 40 years. Because obviously I've been an artist all my life. I've worked alongside authors who are either self-publishing or they might have small publishers. And I think most of the ones Paul's showing, I think, is from my own book, which is on Amazon, the one he's just shown. But my website is very wide-ranging. It shows my artwork in many different styles, many different fields, because whatever the writer asks for is what I do. So if a writer said to me, oh, I want something in the style of Gustave Doré, for example, I would do my best to do it, you know? So, yeah, it's very wide-ranging.
Fantastic.
And that's radicalcartoons.com.
Just going to see if I can make the image a little bit bigger here. Oh, there we go. There's just so we can see a little bit more of the pictures, because I do apologise. You need a magnifying glass to see it to begin with. We can still hear you okay.
Yeah. And that one there is from a video I made at Christmas. It was a little Christmas story, which is on my YouTube channel as well, which is also called Radical Cartoons. And it was a ghost story for Christmas. And I got permission to read an old short story by Lord Dunsany, who's one of my favourite authors, fantasy author, which you might have heard of. And I was very pleased to get permission from his descendant, the current Lord Dunsany. So that old gentleman was one of the characters in the video.
Fantastic. I haven't actually seen that one, but I'll certainly be watching that and see if it's something that would be nice to watch around sort of Christmas time as well, most definitely, because it's fun to put on things like that. So do you want to just give a mention out as well? I'm just going to see, because I've had some comments from the YouTube channel. I'm just going to see, because there's more people watching, if they're making comments on my Facebook. So I'm not being rude looking at my phone and texting people. I'm just seeing if there's any comments from that at all. And this is the hypnotic gift, which is on your YouTube channel, which is the first bit of work which I was really introduced to, because you contacted me and you shared this video with me. So briefly, I'll just go back because it's just disappeared then. You want to just explain a little bit about that, if you're happy to just talk about that one a little bit before we mention the regression? If you'd rather do it some other time, that's fine too.
Yeah, at the risk of advertising another hypnotist. I don't
that's
know whether
quite fine.
You mind if I mention his name? But
of course I don't. You do mention him.
He's quite a famous hypnotist. He's called Adam Cox, and you can find him on Spotify and numerous channels. And he will either do hypnotism in person or over Zoom. And I did it with him over Zoom. And it was just a fairly regular hypnotism. It was for relaxation. It was to get rid of bad habits. It was just general hypnotism. But he bases it on what you're interested in. So he knew I'm interested in myths and legends and fantasy and stuff. So he made up a scenario for me, which was about me going back in time and visiting my younger self at different ages of my life and giving that younger self a gift. So this is why until the hypnotism actually took place, I had no idea what this gift was going to be. So we developed it together, me and the hypnotist. And so yeah, at the end of it, I thought, well, I can draw a picture of this, of what I actually. And the gift was a sort of like a bit of a steampunk telescope for my youngest child self to see into the future, so that she would know there was going to be bad stuff, but that she would get through it and still be in one piece, you know?
I like it, and to be honest with you, I'm a great believer there's more than enough good to go around, so I'm more than happy for people to mention other hypnotists and all that. So brilliant. Thank you, and hello, Karen. Just interested to know what was your particular interest, because I thought it'd be nice to have different viewpoints. Now, you're still not sure about past lives, whether it's our subconscious mind or what it is, but what was it particularly that drew you to, well, I was going to say experiment, that might be the right thing to say, but to actually go and have a regression? What was it that you thought that would be interesting to do?
Really, watching your channel, Paul, and seeing the ones you've done with other people. Especially the ones you did in sort of public settings, you know, where you did them in rooms of our pubs and things, and you actually had 2 or 3 people watching. I presume they might have been relatives and things, and it all looked very benign and not too frightening. And I've always had an interest in reincarnation. I don't know that many people who believe in it or anything, but I'm very, very open to the idea. And I've looked at other things online about it and read books and so on when I was younger. So yeah, I just thought, well, let's see what happens. And I didn't expect anything at all. I think I told you, Paul, I didn't think it would work. I didn't expect anything.
But it was really very good, which we'll go into later. So is there anything else you want to say before I then sort of speak to Lana about her work and her experience?
No, I'm looking forward to what everybody else has to say about what my experience was like, you know, and what they think.
Amazing. Lovely. Well, we're not strangers to speaking, are we, Lana? We're good friends. And you know, we've both kind of have an interest within the paranormal, and you're an amazing artist. It's I mean, you're an amazing artist anyway, but you do your artwork as well with spirit guides and very much spiritually led as well. So if I get your videos up, which I've done a little sort of very similar. So if you want to introduce yourself and where people can find you as well.
Yeah, I'm Lana, and I do psychic art. I'm also a visionary artist, so I kind of paint 3 separate ways in a way. I have my ordinary art, which is generally dancers. That's what I do for gallery work. Visionary art is more for the likes of oracle cards, things like that. And I have my psychic art. So I have 3 different heads. Yeah, this was a chap that I drew for a client. And he actually had a similar picture from years ago, which I felt was interesting. This is taken from my oracle card deck. So I feature angels, guardians and guides, spirit guides within the deck. This is also a good friend of ours, Nanny Lynn. Her spirit guide, I did her reading when I first met her, really. And she was thrilled with it. And she was able to find the lady who I drew. And this is also taken from my oracle card deck.
I made a video up, so I basically did 20 seconds for each person's.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, so there we go. So when did your interest sort of first come from reincarnation and thinking, oh, that's something I want to? Because obviously you also pick up on
Yes.
past lives in your psychic ability.
Yeah.
When was your first real interest into? Because not all mediums are actually into past
No.
lives.
No,
when
that's
did your first think? This is something that
I'd heard various, I have friends who are spiritually inclined, lots of friends. So when I was much younger, I heard from a friend of mine about a series of regressions that had occurred. She loaned me a book, and I'm trying to think of the name of that. I don't think it was I think there was about 3 different books within the volume, 3 volumes. And this was kind of evidence-based of, stories of regressions that he'd recorded. And so he'd written these stories down. But that kind of sparked my interest at first. So it was much, sort of maybe 5 years before I started as a psychic artist. And then I didn't realize that when I started as a psychic artist that I picked up on past lives. So then, therefore, I became more and more interested in different people's past lives. I didn't actually have a regression myself until much later on, but I was fascinated right from the beginning.
Amazing. So yeah, it'd be interesting because to go into and get thoughts and feelings, everything about Stella's regression. But I'll move on to Jeff now. We've heard from 2 incredibly talented artists, and you're talented in many other ways. I found that you used to do music at one point, Jeff.
Yes. I played in some bar bands in my day.
And I've got the trailer that you made for when you kindly invited me onto the Warren Files, which I will play in a bit. That has sound with it. I'm just curious to know your introduction to the paranormal and when you first of all started becoming interested in past lives as well, Jeff.
Into the paranormal, I think the first time was I liked the ghost shows when they first started coming out. And then, that piqued my interest. But then I had an incident. My band was scoping out a bar to play, and just something came in me. And like I said, I was getting into all this stuff. And I asked the bar owner. I said, "Is this place haunted?" And he's like, "Oh my God!" He goes, "Talk to all the barmaids. They all got stories. They won't go into the basement." It was the bar used to be a mafia hangout, and there's an incinerator in the basement. It started out they were building a funeral home. And then that project ran out of money, so the mob bought it and turned it into a club and kept the incinerator that was already built in the basement. So I went down in the basement, or I asked him if I could go down there, and he said, "Oh, yeah, for sure." So I go down there, and man, there was something just dark and nasty down there. And this 2 o'clock in the morning, a buddy of mine called, or he texted me and said, "Just want you to know I'm praying for you." He had no idea where I was at, what I was doing, none of that stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm out of here. So that piqued my interest in the paranormal, and I've kind of taken off with it ever since then. But as far as like the past life regression stuff, like I'll be honest with you, 10 years ago I didn't believe in reincarnation or past lives or any of that stuff. I came from a church, even though I was playing in bar bands and stuff. I had a church background, and so my belief in the paranormal was kind of what the church's belief was. And but then honestly, when we had you on our first show, when we were talking about it wasn't past life, it was reincarnation. I believe that's one of the shows that you were on with us, and I was like, man, you guys really convinced me that there could be a lot to this, and and that piqued my interest then about the past life regression stuff too.
Oh wow! Yeah, so it was actually quite recent. So
yeah,
thank you, Jeff.
And
I'm humbled.
And even still, like when we did our session, it's I hate to be this way, but I'm one that I have to do it myself, or it has to happen to me before I believe everybody else's stories. And since we did our session, like I firmly believe, because whatever you said, like it wasn't one. I don't think if I was to make something up in my mind, I would not have made up what you and I discussed that day. And two, when you said, go to this place, 1, 2, 3, and snap your fingers, it was instant images would pop in your head. Like it wasn't slowly coming about. It was like wham, okay, I'm right in this field. I know right where I'm at. It was so it was pretty intense. It was cool.
Fantastic. I mean, would you say that was how it was for yourself, Stella? That it was like the images were just sort of there, and it wasn't what you would think about making up? How was it for you?
Yeah, most of it. Only right at the beginning, it seemed a bit of a struggle where you asked people to go to the door, and it seemed like all misty or cloudy, as if I was looking into a thick fog. And you kind of said that would sort of, or I can't remember whether you said, let's go a few minutes on or something. And then I saw the scenery in front of me. So, yeah, right at the beginning, it was a bit... and again, funny enough, at the end, when you tell people to come back, it was kind of the same. I can only describe it as using the word sticky. It was...
I had the exact same experience as she did in the beginning. It was like I told you, I was in the clouds. It was very hard to see through. I couldn't, I could see something was beyond, but I couldn't quite. It just took me a few minutes to get there, but it was the exact same experience she had.
Yeah. Also, as well, when you're in hypnosis, and I just want to say big thank you for sharing this out. Much appreciated. Thank you. Is that the more you're in hypnosis, the more you go deeper into it. So sometimes people are in quite a light trance, then they go deeper into it, and that's why when you have a stage hypnotism show, you'll see everybody, and they're all sort of slumped out in their chairs to begin with, and first of all they'll be just sat down, and they'll be like, you're driving away from the police, and the police are flashing their lights, and they're all and they've got their eyes closed, because at that moment their belief isn't strong enough that they're in it, that if they open their eyes, there's no police by me. So they're basically taking them deeper and deeper. They're in hypnosis, and the more they're in it, the more that the belief is working, the more they're getting these visualizations to play along with the hypnosis in their subconscious mind. When you go to the stage, they get them to do all sorts of crazy kind of things sometimes. So that's quite regular for a lot of people. That can be a little bit on the sketchy side to begin with, and then as they're further in hypnosis, they get more information. So, but always make sure, as hopefully everybody will say that I never lead a client at all. I always let them come up with what their subconscious mind comes up with. Before we start sharing any clips, or before we start asking Stella a few more questions, I thought it'd be nice, because both yourself and both Jeff and Lana have had regressions, and you put together a wonderful trailer for the Warren file. So the date of it is past, but I thought it'd be real nice, because I really like the trailer, so I thought I'd put it in, and it just shows just a little tiny bit of your regressions as well. It only lasts about a minute and a half, I think, something like that.
Okay.
So let me find that one.
I landed in on top of that cliff, but it's really tall green grass. I see a building.
Where are you now?
Italy.
Italy. Very nice.
Enjoying experience.
I tell you the phrase that's come to me. That's an odd one.
So,
Good.
yeah. Well, hey, yeah, that was not what I thought it was going to be for sure. I definitely I was nervous leading up to it, but then that went away really quick.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Very, very, very vivid.
Wonderful. And I've got some clips of Stella's with some pictures that corroborate that Stella has managed to find with some research after. Also, when I play these clips, it is in full on my Past Life Regression channel. So if anybody wishes to ask a question or has an insight, I can just dip down the sound a little bit at that point so people can ask if that's what people feel they want to do. So does anybody want to add anything before I play Stella's first clip, which is just as she's basically coming out of the mist of time, as I called it, and some information was beginning to come through. It's not straight away after they clear, but not long after. Does anybody want to add anything at all? Nope. Okay.
I'm good. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Excellent. So let me share this first video.
I'm wearing a sort of a one-piece dress or tunic, which has buttons all the way down. And it has sleeves, but not long sleeves, quite short sleeves. I'm not sure what. It's like a sort of light green colour or mid-green colour. Like, I'm trying to think of the sort of fabric. Sort of like, I want to say wool, but more like Hessian.
Sounds good.
It's not, yeah, it's, yeah, I can't, I don't know what kind of dress it is, I don't know what kind of tunic it is, just seems to go down to my knees at least.
That's good. How old do you feel you are right now in this memory?
I realise it, I'm quite young, maybe in my 20s.
That's good. Very good. On the next count of 3, when I click my fingers, the name of what they call you in this lifetime comes to you. 1, 2, 3. What do they call you in this lifetime?
It's something like, the first name that came to me was Ethel.
Bethel was that?
Ethel, I don't know if
Ethel.
that's right. Ethel, it sounded like, it seems like Ethel, or either Ethel or Eldridge. So whether, I don't know if that's my first name or could be both names. It could be first and second name.
Very good. Just allow it to go with Ethel, and if you feel you wish to add to that, just let me know. No. Whilst you're here looking across, just let me know where in the world you feel you are. Just let me know where in the world you feel you are. No.
I feel it's mid-Europe somewhere. Somewhere like, I feel it's mid-Europe. I feel it's Germany or Austria. And it's the landscape is not mountainous though. It's a farming landscape. It's not mountains, or it's mainly a farming area. But with this town and this bridge in front of me, so it's got roads. It's could be a small town, with not far from a bigger city. That's what the feeling I get.
Very good. And this town with this bigger city, the way you are right now, do you feel you're warm enough in this moment right now?
Yes, I feel as if I've been somewhere and I'm coming back to this town.
Very good.
I feel it's where I live.
Lovely. Now, we'll see if a name comes via later, but first of all, the year of what year it is. That comes to you on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. What year is it?
A year did come to me, but the year that came to me was 1314.
So yeah, interesting. And also as well, Stella, you said that because a lot of people they're almost asleep, but it wasn't quite so much like that for you, and that's why I asked if you were warm enough, because sometimes people feel cold because you were kind of slightly shivering to begin with, and that was at the beginning and towards the end of the regression.
It was much calmer in the middle of it, wasn't it? Yeah. And I think I definitely had a nervous reaction, and I haven't seen other people that you've hypnotized with exactly the same. It could be because it's the first time I've ever done this. It could be because I was nervous in a few days leading up to it, perhaps, and then it all came out during the hypnotism. But I talked to you afterwards, and I mentioned to you that the only other time I've had that kind of shivering effect was when I was had node ablation from my heart condition, and they on the operating table they have to keep you calm but at the same time keep you awake. So they alternate between an anaesthetic and then adrenaline, and that shivering you have is the adrenaline working. So clearly I had a very strong adrenaline reaction during the hypnosis at certain points. Wasn't particularly connected to what you were asking me. It was just it was more at the beginning and, as you say, towards the end of it.
Yeah, I thought that I would check because I wasn't sure if it's how you were, because people react to hypnosis in all sorts of different ways, and I wanted to make sure, because sometimes I've had people that have been in hypnosis and the regression part that they're in, they felt like they need to go to the toilet, and I sometimes wonder if they need to go to the toilet here or whether they're in sort of the regression, and sometimes it's when they come out, it's like, actually I really need to go now, but sometimes it is literally they feel like it in the regression. One way of finding out is if you move them forward a bit, and if that feeling goes away, then you know that it was actually as they were feeling in the regression. Lana, Jeff, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I was curious too, because I thought the same thing, is that you look very, very nervous or something.
Can I just say as well, I think I've said this to Paul, that to me this hypnosis, it wasn't just floating along, and obviously you're conscious of being in the present and talking to the hypnotist as well. It's like being in two places at once. So you know where you are, you know everything's safe and fine and all that. But to me, it was very hard work. Is the only way I can describe it. I've said to Paul privately, it was almost as if he said to me, "Right, as you're going through this door, you're now going to start running a marathon," and never having run a marathon in my life. It was kind of like that I felt that every new thing he asked me to envisage, it was like a physical effort. And I think that's why I was having these kind of reactions as well.
Mm.
And the deep breathe, I was kind of breathing really quite heavily, especially when he asked me a particular question.
Mm.
Mm.
But it was really interesting. Anything you want to add to that, Lana, before I play the next clip?
No, I'm fine.
I'm going to play the next clip, and then I'm just going to swap over the batteries on this camera because it's going to go out. So I will disappear for a second, but everything will still keep playing, just so everybody knows, in case anybody think, where on earth are you gone now? Oh, hi Jackie, hope you're doing good. Right, let's play clip 2. Staying with this lifetime, I want you to move further forward, just a little bit in time. You said you were just coming home. On the count of 3, I want you to go to the place where you live, where you rest your head at night, where you call home. Allow yourself, if you haven't already, to go to that space on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And describe to me a place where you live.
I feel that it's it's a bit as if it's the entrance to a church, but it's not a church. So I get the feeling it is ecclesiastical though. So I think it might be a convent. That's the feeling I got as well from when I was looking at the village. Because I could see a tower, sort of flat roof tower, which seemed to have a belfry in it, so I thought that was where I was heading for. So I think this is where I live.
Wonderful.
I don't know whether I'm whether I work here or whether I'm actually a nun that lives here.
Wonderful. And whilst you're here, and you just allow yourself to relax into this memory of yours, just want you to now allow yourself to have a clearer understanding of what you do, how you spend your days. And that comes to you now. How do you spend your days?
I'm seeing myself in the kitchen of this place, and I think I spend my days working here, fetching. I think that's where I've just come back from, is the market. So I come back with food. So this is what I do here. I'm like a servant.
Very good. How does it feel to be working in this place?
Yeah, I'm comfortable here. I feel that I've been here since I was a young girl.
That's good. And whilst you're here in this space now, I want you to be able to find somewhere in this place, it may even be water, but a time around this time of you being in your 20s where you're able to look at yourself in a reflection so you can see how you look and describe yourself. Allow that to happen on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Time when you're looking at yourself in a reflection so you can see how you look within this lifetime. Let me know what you see in this sense.
Okay, I see myself in a window that has got several panes of glass in it, so I can see myself in it. And I'm wearing I've got light brown hair, which is long, so I can see it coming here, but I'm wearing a sort of white bonnet. Just not an elaborate bonnet, just a round bonnet with, it's more like a cap than a bonnet. And the dress that I could see, it is like a it does go down almost to my feet. That's what I couldn't make out when I was earlier on, but I can see now. And it's very plain, but with the buttons down the front. And yeah. And the reason the sleeves are short is because of the work I do.
Yeah, and well done for finding the images of the cap there.
Yeah, because when I said to you I wasn't going to do any detective work, but after a few days you sort of think, well, is there anything at all that was in that might have been actually historically accurate? And those caps, people still make them actually, and as well as them being in museums and folklore centres and things, they were apparently common right through from the early to the late Middle Ages. And I think you can probably look online and see especially older Irish women wearing them in the 1900s. So and they're called Bridget caps, yeah, so would have been very common for a serving girl to wear. So that sort of made sense, made sense of what I was seeing.
Most definitely, and thank you, Jackie. I had one with Paul Goddard. It was amazing. I just wanted to pull it up, and thank you for saying that. That's very, very kind of you. And the revival clothing, if you want one of those caps, anybody wants them yourself, you can order them, have them for your fancy dress parties, or if you want to wear one anyway. But yeah, no, it is good, and I find quite a lot of people sort of afterwards think, actually, I would be interested in doing a little bit of research. So, and there's another great painting coming up a little later. But yes, it's always nice when what is within the time scale is kind of found out to be, historically accurate, which is really good. Jeff and Lana, is there anything you want to add to that?
Lana, you can go first this time.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, I thought the description was really good. That when you said that you saw yourself in the painted glass. So were you inside the building or outside the building?
Yeah, I felt it was inside. I felt as if when it's at night, and so you can see reflection in a window because it's dark outside. It was kind of like that, looking at a window like that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you manage to find or am I jumping the gun? Did you manage to find the church? Or?
Well, we're going to carry on and
okay.
talk about these things. Yeah. So
which is nice to do it, and the other thing with the church is really cool as well. Anything, Jeff?
No, I just if it wasn't for the building, it really sounds like. Are you guys familiar with Amish people? We have those here in the States.
Yes, we are familiar.
The dress really in the cap really. I was thinking Amish, and then you talked about the building. I was like, well, it's definitely not the Amish then, because they're.
Well, some of the things I found out are very, very interesting indeed, and not anything I ever knew about previously. I will hasten to add, So we'll get onto what it could have been.
Brilliant. I hope as well, because this chair can creak a bit up, I'm not making too many noises. I'm trying to be as still as possible here. Right, let's see next video here.
Staying with this lifetime,
the idea and understanding of who you work for, exactly who you work for.
It is the cathedral in the city, and this is the convent that is attached to it, you know, so I'm a servant to the nuns.
Very good. Now on the next count of 3, the name of this cathedral comes to you. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't come, just to see if it does come. Just relax, and if it comes, it doesn't matter.
I don't know if this is real, but I want to say Utrecht.
That's okay, we'll go with it. If you don't know, it's fine to say that as well. Just
I don't even know where that is.
okay. Or you can look it up. Just describe now what you're aware of at this moment in time. Just describe a little more what you can see wherever you are right now.
I'm standing at the door of the kitchen, which is it's a big wooden table where we chop things and cook on, and it's more of an open fire, not a stove, but it's more of an open fire, like which you hang cauldrons over, and I'm looking out to a garden, which is where the well is, and there's vegetables and there's herb garden, and this is all part of what I look after.
Sounds good.
There's nobody about at the moment because I don't think I'm the only servant, but other people are busy doing their own things, you know.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
I think but it's a very nice, I mean, it's a nice place to live. It's like there are people living in far worse places, you know.
Of course. Now, around this time, if there was a time when you were looking just outside the cathedral, so you can describe how it looks to me, just allow yourself to go to that time now. 1, 2, 3. Staying with that lifetime, the time when you saw the cathedral. Just describe to me what you can see.
I've got no idea if this is real, but I'm seeing a square, mostly cobbled square, and I'm seeing a cathedral, not a massive, but with 2 spires, 2 quite big spires, and a big arched doorway, and the houses round about are timber frame houses. Quite.
Sounds very
It's
idyllic.
not. I mean, I wouldn't live in houses like this because they're, they're for rich people, you know.
Yeah. Sounds nice to be there just to see it.
I only come here when I'm on an errand, you know.
Yes. There we go, and thank you, Joe, for joining us. I hope that you're well this evening. Hello to all you watchers and silent watchers as well. So it was really good, the amount of detail you picked up from what ended up being in Utrecht, St Mary's Church. It was very similar to that. Was it pretty much exactly like that? Or was there a slight
Yeah, it was very much like that. But the interesting thing, and we've talked about it, Paul, is that church no longer exists. So when I was using the word cathedral, it was because to me it was so big that it was like what I would call a cathedral today. But when I Googled for a cathedral in Utrecht, it's totally different because it's now a Protestant cathedral, totally different. It was built hundreds of years later. But that church used to exist in Utrecht. The one you've just shown a picture of is, you can find that on Wikipedia. So it's a big church rather than a cathedral, but I was calling it a cathedral because I didn't know what else to call it. You see,
Indeed.
so but it wasn't the cathedral that's in Utrecht now. So that I think itself was very interesting, and I want to. And until I started searching for, I didn't even know where Utrecht was. I only now know where it is, that it's in Holland. And I was saying mid-European, but certainly in the German, lots of the names of towns in Holland are Germanic. So maybe it was all part of the Prussian Empire at one time, I don't know. But yeah, I had no knowledge of anything about Holland or ecclesiastical things in Holland, or the early Middle Ages in Holland at all. So finding that picture of the church was quite striking.
Indeed.
And I think I was saying to you at one point in the regression pool that I couldn't be sure whether the buildings I was seeing were of stone or wood.
Yeah.
And that painting of that church, certainly there's a lot of wood, so it's kind of a mixture, isn't it, of stone and wood, and I was saying that to you.
Yeah. No, it was great, and it was a delight seeing it come through when you showed me the Wikipedia image. I must say hello to Lorna, who's joined us. Thank you, and also big thank you to Anna, who also did the impression of the St Mary's Church as well. So thank you, and I know you're watching, and hope you still are. So hello to you. Lana, do you want to? I'll get Jackie's up in a second. Do you want to add anything to that? And I'll also pull up. Oh, hello, Ian. How are you, Ian? So, anything you want to add to that, Lana?
Just think that the detail is incredible. When you first saw that, did you feel like, it obviously felt real to you, and you saw it clearly, the cobblestones and the
Yeah. It was pretty much that shape. In fact, I thought the spires were higher,
right?
but I think that was perspective, where you'd be looking up at it, right? So they look more pointy than they do in that painting. But that painting is all anybody's got.
Yes.
Obviously, no photographs. That painting is the only thing in the world that shows that church. So
it's quite amazing, isn't it?
So Paul kindly found an artist who did a rendition of that painting for us.
And yeah,
can
Jackie
I mention about the year, because when you asked me to pick a year, I don't know whether that year is meant to be the year that you're experiencing at the time, like the age you think you are at the time, or is it the year of is it a year that is very meaningful to you, like maybe the year of your birth, or is it a year something really momentous happened in that lifetime that everybody knows? Like, let me give an example from this time and place where we all think of the year 1945, like the end of the Second World War, as a year where lots of things changed, where Britain in particular, society changed immensely. We had the National Health Service came in, and the Education Acts, and that society changed completely, and so if you say 1945 onwards, everybody kind of knows, oh yeah, the end of the Second World War. And I wonder when you ask for a date, whether it's something like this, because I then obviously looked up the date and started looking into the date. It was right at the beginning of a thing called the Great Famine in Europe, which killed hundreds of thousands of people, died. And all the way through my regression, there's a great importance seems to be on food, either growing it or collecting it or working with food, and I don't know whether it's in one of the clips you're going to show, but at one point I said I felt that by me living in the convent, my family got more food. So there's a big emphasis on having enough food to eat. And also I talk about, at some point I talk about the siblings I had either died or were very ill or didn't survive for some reason, but I didn't know what it was. And I also talk about the father not being on the scene, but I didn't really know why he wasn't there. So certainly ties in with a period of history where the Great Famine took place.
Indeed. I mean, when I do the year, it tends to be either the year or how old they feel. So if it was, we'll just pick 1950 out. So if they were, say, 45, and what year is it, 1950? Or what year is it, 1950? How old are you, 1945? So it tends to be the first kind of like at that point of when they are is
so
what it...
That was when I was saying I thought I was in my 20s. I felt as if I was in my 20s. 13, 14. Yeah, very... Yeah, so it's... old enough to understand what was going on, in other words.
Yes,
Old
indeed.
enough,
Yeah.
old enough to be somebody who felt the responsibility.
Yes, indeed. And sadly, it's only really now, particularly as you mentioned, the National Health Service, but from like the 1950s onwards, where most family members survived. That's why everybody used to have such a big family before, particularly, like when the children were going off to work down the pits, or sometimes for architecture for buildings going up dangerously high with not much in the way of health and safety, and also as well illness. A lot of the children sadly wouldn't have made it through to adulthood, so to keep the family going you would have needed to have a big amount of children as well, at that point. I'm just going to read out Jackie's thing quickly. I go in my past life regression, and there was a man called who I said he had a farm, etc., and the house he lived in, how I'd seen it. That blew my mind. Thank you, Jackie. So, Jeff, anything you want to add to what we've just discussed from that family? Then?
Yeah, real quick. So, am I viewing the clip right? So, you did a drawing of the building that you saw and then found it later?
No, it's another artist.
Okay.
Yeah, lovely artist. Anna, she kindly did the illustration of it. I didn't realise that the art was in the public domain originally, so I got another artist to do the image, and I really liked it because it really focused on the building itself, and it just made that stand out. So I loved it and wanted to include it anyway.
Gotcha. Okay.
Good. All right, so clip 4 now. So I think this one we speak a little bit about the famine.
Do you remember much about your life before then?
I feel that I come from a family that is several children. I'm not the oldest, but I feel that I'm the oldest still living. I feel that my mother's still alive. She's I feel that she's always had this in mind for me. She's wanted me to. This is the life she's wanted for me, because I have a feeling to, because she knows it'll be a safe life for me.
That's nice. And I'm glad that she knows that it'll be a safe life for you. Describe your mother to me. How does she look?
I feel that she's very careworn. She's had many children, and they haven't all lived. I've
Sorry to hear
spent
that.
my childhood helping her look after the younger ones. I feel that she I don't feel that I really knew my father in this life. I feel that he was not on the scene from early, whether I don't know whether he died or whether he's just gone. And she's struggled, And so she's but she makes her living on bits and pieces. She has a little bit of her own little, like a little bit of a homestead, but not very much. Do you know what I mean? She sells the fruit and the vegetables,
Yes.
and not. She just kind of tries to get just enough, and so she feels that. So me living in the convent will help her out, you see, because I will be able to get extra food and stuff for them.
I'm glad.
That's what I feel. That's why I feel I'm here.
Before you moved to the convent, how close or far away were you from the convent?
Yes, close, in the farmlands nearby.
Very good. And yeah, you said, Stella, that in your research afterwards, a lot of people became quite self-sufficient around that time to help themselves.
Well, this cannot be an exact science because if this really happened, it was hundreds of years ago, and we've only got a general. I was trying to work out how this life could possibly have overlapped what was going on in Holland at the time. There was a massive amount of religious turmoil, as it was, between obviously Catholic and Protestant. It was mostly Catholic, of course, but things were changing, and with the famine as well. I mean, a famine just doesn't happen for like 3 years. There was obviously a lead up to it, and then many years afterwards where people got themselves back together. So in the 1350s and 40s and 50s, there's a guy called, who I don't know if anybody here has ever heard of him, but a guy called, I'm just reading here, Gerard Groot, and he's quite a famous guy. He only lived to about 45, had a short life, but he did a massive amount. He wasn't a priest, he was a deacon of the cathedral in Utrecht. Whether it was the church that I called a cathedral or an actual cathedral, I don't know. But he was based in Utrecht, and as I say, whether it overlapped with this lifetime I saw or not, but certainly these things don't come out of the blue. They could have. He popularised a movement of in Catholic life called the Brethren of the Common Life, and this was, as far as I can see, could have been a reaction to the famine, because what it did, it brought, like you mentioned, Jeff, you've mentioned the Amish, very much along those lines of communal living, and this is what I strongly felt, that where I lived, where our family's homestead was in a sense part of the convent, not their actual land, but that everybody was involved in a sort of communal effort. And that's one of the reasons that I was sent there to be a servant at a young age. It was considered quite a normal thing. So that could have been going on anyway to help the community look after itself. And then this guy came along and popularised a movement called the Brethren of the Common Life, which was hugely influential, apparently, in mid-Europe. I've never heard of this before, ever. Like I said, I know nothing about Catholic history. But can I just read a little bit about this again from Wikipedia?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, thank you.
They believed that Christianity should be practiced not only in formal religious settings, but also in everyday life. And they sought to promote a practical spirituality that emphasized personal piety and devotion. Without taking up irrevocable vows, the brethren banded together in communities, giving up their worldly goods to live strictly regulated lives in common houses, devoting every waking hour to attending divine service, reading and preaching, labouring productively, and taking meals in common. Very similar to some monasteries. particularly the oh God, what's the order of the black monks? Anybody? Black robes.
I know, and I can't think of it
Yeah.
off the top of my head now.
Their
Amazing.
saint had a raven as a Benedict.
Type it in. Yes,
Benedict.
that's it. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Benedictine. Yeah, very similar to how they lived. But I didn't see myself as being part of the religious order. I felt I was a servant to that religious order. But yeah, but I had a feeling that it wasn't just to do with this one place. It encompassed all like little farms and things like where my family came from. So as if they were all working together. And when I found out about that Brethren of Common Life, which this guy, his lifetime may have overlapped some of the life I was envisaging, but even if it didn't, the community, it could all have been kind of developing that idea of living like that. So, and that speaks very much to me how I believe people would be better off living in this day and age.
Yeah, indeed.
And you do say that we should pick a life that is meaningful to us.
Absolutely. I must say hello to Chris. Hello, Chris, who's joined in. Hope you're doing well. So I mean, it's nice that they were, I mean, totally there to help each other, and it actually, well, we will go to your last year's very soon. But from Jeff, Lana, Jeff, anything you want to add to that? And yeah, Pat put Friars down. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just wondered if were you working there from morning to night kind of thing? Were you able to see the family? Can you remember seeing the family more?
Yes, Paul did ask me at one point, didn't you, Paul, to tell me more about, and I saw myself visiting with my sister and being back at the family farm, but it obviously didn't happen very often, you know. Yeah.
Right. So you would take food probably then to the family if you.
Yeah, or like I said, they could have been part of a communal effort, you see, and that's why I was so amazed to find out about that religious movement, which I had never heard of.
Interesting, no.
And also, more than once, I said to Paul during the regression, I didn't feel our family was particularly religious, that it was duty rather than devotion. You know, that it was more like that it was just a part of everyday life. And then I found this, about this community where that's what they were based on.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
It is amazing.
I mean, that is to me is the most mind-blowing bit of the whole thing. Because I knew nothing about Holland, nothing about Catholic history, nothing about that church, and certainly nothing about the history of this religious communal movement. So, very, very.
Well done.
Yeah. No, and I didn't know about it. It's nice knowing these bits of history through regression, however people think we get it, whether it's the subconscious mind, whether it's what we heard before, whether it is a true past life.
And can I just say as well, we're very restricted in what we're taught in school in Britain. I don't know about people in other countries, but the Great Famine of Europe, never heard about it, you know. All we were ever taught in school is things that were to do with us, like the Vikings invaders or the Romans invaders and that sort of history, and lists of kings and queens. But the Great Famine in Europe, no. Knew nothing about it.
Yeah, Chris actually had a thing with regression, because it's like I sometimes go into maybe even genetic memory or something, but pre-programmed. So maybe somehow in our own DNA we know all this wonderful information as well. So I find with this regression work, I absolutely love it, because you get more and more questions actually more often than answers. But I mean it was totally amazing what Stella picked up during her regression. Anything you want to add, Jeff, at all?
I don't have anything at this time, though.
The other thing is that I went to Steiner School, and we kind of learned all sorts of different things in that. That was quite good. So probably my history might be a little bit different to what everybody else was taught in school. Right, this is the last part, which I'll get up now, which is towards the end of the life that Stella was experiencing.
Indeed. Staying with this lifetime, we'll Move forward to see what the year of your age 60 brings. 1, 2, 3. In your 60s, what are you aware of now?
I just feel a bit nothing. I feel as if I'm floating.
Okay. Now, staying with this life experience you're experiencing, knowing that it can be like a videotape that can be fast forward or rewound, you're able to experience only what emotions you're comfortable and happy to experience. You need to go to your very last year of living within this lifetime. 1, 2, 3. Very last year of living in this lifetime. Tell me about that. I'm aware of now.
I feel that I feel that I maybe not exactly went blind, but was not able to see very much, and so had to be guided around stuff, so that I was really quite they were looking after me, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because years ago I was looking after them, and I'm not that old, but I'm not capable. So, because I'm looking around me, and I know that I'm still in. They sit me on a bench. I know that I'm in the garden. I can feel the sun on my face, but I don't feel that I don't always know what's going on.
How long do you feel your eyesight has been giving you trouble?
I know now why I'm looking at this life. But yes, it came on. It came on. I don't know whether it came on because of illness, but I know the work wore me down, and I gradually. I think this is my mind, that I lost the ability to remember and concentrate.
I am sorry to hear that.
So that I was not able to do all the work anymore. That's why, I sort of. But they treated me very kindly.
If it's appropriate, you can take that kindness through to you in other lives, through with you to other lives. Again, just emphasizing what you experienced be like a videotape that could be fast forwarded or rewound if you wish to. So I want you to go to your very last 10 seconds of living in this lifetime. Allow yourself to go to that last 10 seconds now. 1, 2, 3. It's your final 10 seconds, and just let me know what you're aware of in these last 10 seconds.
Shortness of breath. Weak. I feel as if I'm lying down. I can smell. I can smell candle wax.
Now, as I count backwards from 3 to 0, so will be your moment of passing. 3, 2, 1, and 0. You've just passed over now. And as you've just passed over, just let me know what awarenesses you have now in this moment.
I can feel the candle, the warmth of the candle flame.
And if there's such a thing as time in this life between lives, just let me know as you slowly move forward now from this moment, what else you're sensing and experiencing.
I'm kind of aware of the room I'm in, and that there were people, whether a nun or a couple of people who helped, who waited, who stood over me, you know, who waited, sat by me, prayed over me while I was, and I can still see, I can see it, which I haven't been able to see. I haven't been able to see for a long time, and now I can, as if I'm above. I'm looking down at the room. I'm looking down, and they are sat beside the bed. I'm feeling gratefulness, thankfulness for them.
That's good.
I can actually see myself lying in the bed.
And in this space of this life between lives now, would you had a message from your higher self, but just as you review the life you've just had, is there any other understanding or another message from your higher self that you feel your higher self would like to give you in this moment?
Yes, I think it's something being selflessness is it's a good thing. It's not. You should never resent it. You should never. You should not resent it. You should not feel hard done by, because it's a good thing.
That's nice.
Because I was rewarded in this life. I might not have known it or thought it much, but I was rewarded because other people looked after me. When I thought I was being like a servant all the time.
Very good.
I just sort of just miss now.
Very good. So also as well, if anybody has any questions in chat, please feel free to ask them. So it's I think a couple of things which struck me there, and then obviously Stella say what you felt afterwards. But it always often seems to be with people when I take them to an age where they no longer lived in that life, it just seems to go blank for a lot of people. It's just like nothingness there. But you had a good reflection, and it actually seemed that you were quite contented with the life that you had at the end of that life.
Well, I think this all feeds into what we all think this is really all about, doesn't it? Because the hypnotist guides you to choose a life which is meaningful. So as it's the first and only time I've ever gone through this experience, it would make sense I chose the life that was the most meaningful. I went straight to it, made a beeline for it, if you know what I mean. Because when you say to visage being in a corridor at the beginning with the many doors, I saw an old hospital corridor, which a lot of people see, that I understand. But instead of seeing many doors, I saw many branches off the corridor down which I knew there were doors, but only one door that I saw that I could actually go through. So it was like that, Rather than seeing a lot of doors, I saw branching corridor and at one door. So, that's what you say to do, and that's what everybody does. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do we see all this because we're concocting it because it's meaningful to our present life, or do we see all this because you told us to go to a life which is meaningful to our present life? There are about 100 different parallels in that regression to my current life, which I'm not going to go into, but they are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Both the emotions, the places, the parallels with my life now is just unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was Carl Jung that said we've all got access to collective human consciousness. So people might say, "Oh, you probably saw the picture of that church in an art book sometime long ago." And well, why would I be looking at pictures of churches in Holland? I've had no interest in that country ever,
Yeah.
But yeah, So somebody's asking a question about parallels with my life now.
Yeah, if it's right for you, but it's obviously it's if it's right for you, because there's this which is done for the interest's sake, but there's also a certain part of the work that I do for healing. So if people feel they want to keep that to themselves, that's part of their own kind of journey. And obviously I'm not going to, if Stella wanted to say anything, you're very welcome to, but also as well that it's for you to say or not say. So yeah,
I'll give you one parallel with my current life. Is that the most places where I've always felt the most peaceful and the most happy are in old country churches. I mean, I literally, whenever I'm walking or hiking, I always make sure I visit one, and yeah, I just feel completely at peace. And as soon as I walk through the door of them, just as if it's a sort of place where it's natural for me to be. Although I am not, in this life, I'm an atheist. I'm not religious at all. But yeah, I feel at home in those buildings.
And Lorna, don't worry at all. It's absolutely fine. We have a question that Pat's brought up here. What makes you choose that particular door? I've got my own interpretation, but you've all gone. I don't always take people through a door, actually. Sometimes I drop them out of the sky, as some of you might have seen, just to kind of, mix things up a bit for lives. But each of you, I think, has been through that method. It's my preferred method of taking people through a door. So what do you all feel that you chose that one? I mean, obviously I say choose one which is meaningful to you, but is there any kind of sort of thought feeling inside, like, oh, that looks a nice door, I'll go through that? So it'd be interesting to get all your interpretations.
Does everyone pick, like, okay, so my example, there was 2 doors on my right, 2 doors on my left, and one at the end. Does everybody tend to pick the end one?
Most people do.
Okay.
Yeah, most people. Not everybody, but most people do.
Okay.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. Mine was a corridor with arches.
How many doors did you see?
Lots. There was lots on either side, but it seemed like the bottom door was way off. But I knew I was drawn to it. Probably because it was at the bottom. It was there. But maybe, that door's selected for us,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And yourself, Stella? I mean, would
Well,
you?
I just felt that it was you guiding me and saying choose a life that's going to be meaningful, and that was the only door I saw straight in front of me. So
Yeah, Chris has said it's a bit like books, the different doors to the many lives. So, yeah, interesting. I'm going to pull up Jackie's here, what she's made. When I first went under, Paul said that to me that at first I couldn't see one, but then I saw one at the bottom too. Yeah, and, I think as well it's to be flexible when you're taking somebody through to a past life, because some people prefer all sorts of different methods. So yeah, but it was an incredible regression, and I was so grateful to Stella to find out these bits and pieces. And it was something that we kind of said earlier on. It would be nice to do a follow-up discussion about that. So observations from anybody watching, or anybody yourself, Stella, Lana, Jeff.
I actually do have one. So I'm going to ask you to go back and watch that clip. Maybe it was one of our live mics, but I know my mic was muted. I thought I heard an EVP in there about halfway through, shortly followed by somebody whistling. So I don't know, were any of you whistling during that? I heard a very faint, for maybe 3 or 4 seconds.
Oh, interesting.
And I should have wrote down the time on the clock, but I didn't. But I don't know. Maybe go back and listen to that and see if you can hear it.
Because it'd be interesting if anybody else has heard that, because the most compelling one was actually in your Warren Files thing when I had Kate Hager-Ray and the voice comes across, tell her. Now, I have had ones before now where I've shifted in the chair because, it's being leather, it can creak a bit, so I'll try and be as still as I can. You listen to it back afterwards and you think, I think that was potentially me creaking or my guests creaking. But that one with Kate Hager-Ray, to me, it couldn't be anything else. I was in that chair after I was shifting around trying to recreate it, and I just could not at all. So yeah, that was really clear. But yeah, I will go back and listen to it. So that's interesting.
I thought I heard the word normal. I thought I heard somebody say normal.
Wow, so, interesting.
I don't know. Like I said, it could have been one of our live mics. I don't know.
Possibly, but I will listen. I know nobody said Norma here.
And mine was muted, so.
Yeah, well done. So does anybody have anything else they want to sort of add? And, throughout... Pat says mine is third on the left. Me neither, Pat. So that's another one, I think. So, any changes in views, anybody, or development of views of reincarnation throughout, from when you first got interested or had one to now?
Well, I think it just reinforces mine, especially, the regression tonight was just amazing. And what I felt was incredible was how grateful you were. You felt very grateful and humbled at the end of that life.
Well, like a lot of people, I've probably spent most of this life complaining about. I was born disabled, so I spent most of my young life being incredibly frustrated and angry about that. Oh, why can't I do everything else? Why aren't I allowed to do everything else? All the other kids are allowed to do that kind of thing. And so, I think, and we all to some extent, spend our lives complaining about how hard done by we are. And that life showed me that you could be in a situation where people around you are dropping like flies for one reason or another, and you're very lucky to be in a safe place.
Yeah.
And I think that was the overwhelming lesson of that life.
Yeah.
I just had one. I want to put it up because it's really nice for you, Lorna. Thank you. Plucking up the courage to have this done with Paul. People that have had it done with me. What would you say?
I'll speak to that.
Go for it. Go for it.
You guys know that I was, we talked before. Maybe not everybody listening does, but I was very, very hesitant on doing it. In fact, we had a session scheduled that I had to cancel because there was something else going on that I didn't want to open myself up to anything like that at that time. But I mean, it's like, so was it Lorna that was asking if about coming up with courage? it's really, honestly, after doing it, it's nothing to be afraid of, because I was in the same boat. So I mean, just maybe just tone it down, and it is fine. It's actually a very enjoyable experience. It wasn't scary or anything
Well,
like that.
I agree with you that it wasn't scary, but it was hard work. I found it was like hard work. I didn't find it an easy experience. It was very profound. It meant a huge amount to me, and
Thank you.
yeah, it's taught me some lessons that I probably should, I needed to learn. But having said that, I might upset everybody by saying that I'm still on the fence about whether this is reincarnation or not.
No, absolutely. I mean, I like having people from all different sorts of beliefs and things. And I did one recently with Higgy Pop, who's a complete skeptic, and he's not sure. I think he's still on the skeptical side, but he had a good time and enjoyed the experience anyway. So, yeah, you can be on the fence as much as you like. Not going to upset me or anybody here, Stella.
I think, like I said, I was skeptical too, but I think if even in my mind, not consciously making something up, I don't think I would have come up with what I came up with, because mine was very plain, very, it wasn't, I would think that I would come up with something more spectacular, even in my subconscious, if it wasn't real. That's what I took away from mine. Because it was a very simple life. It wasn't, I think the only thing extraordinary that I did is, like I said, I felt that I was an author and had a book published. But other than that, everything was very plain and simple.
We've got an interesting question there.
Oh, which one was it? So I'll come back to them. Which question is that?
Lorna, she says, did you feel exhausted afterwards? Certainly I did. I don't want to put people off, but it had a huge physical effect on me. I was physically sick when I got home, and also I felt I had to rest most of the next day. So yeah, it had a huge physical effect on me.
Yeah, it's very rare that people get that. But Lorna, if you are interested, we can always chat to me about it at some point. It's most people don't feel exhausted, but people do experience stuff in very, very different ways. But I think the one consistency, mostly consistency, is that people don't feel exhausted. It's very rare that they do, but most people feel like it's something very profound and important, whether they believe in it or not. That's what people tend to get, and that's not just. I'm not just saying for me. Other people that do past life regressions as well. So yes, lots of different things here. So I just want to get this one up as well. My favourite parts are the first step through the door to see where people are, and then the very last seconds and thereafter. It doesn't usually upset people that go into the death experience. It tends to upset people more that are watching it. But I have had people say that it's actually helped them relieve their fear of death, which is good to hear as well. So we've been going almost 90 minutes, and I can't believe how quickly that's gone. I'm going to get everybody to just say their websites and details again, how people can sort of follow. And also, as Jeff, I haven't really said about the Warrens, how people can follow, like get in contact with the Warrens as well, would be a really good thing. So anyone want to add anything before I start getting people just to give their website details and everything?
I did. So Lorna made another comment about her biggest worry is that she won't go under. I had that fear too, and actually it happened to me. So just put my 2 cents in on that.
Also, as well, I do take my time with people, and sometimes people struggle a little bit, and I do adapt. And also, as well, I offer, if anybody doesn't get a past life regression, then I give them a MP3 to listen to, or CD if they really don't have facilities to play MP3s. And if then, after they listen to it and get them back in, if they don't experience regression, I do offer a refund, because it happens so rare that people don't get anything. It's actually better to do that than to get people being upset with the experience, because I always like people to have a positive experience afterwards. So yeah, it's kind of I love it. I always Thank you so much for contacting me, Stella, and having this done, because it was a joy to work with you. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
So I'll see what it says. Hi, Paul, Lana, my love Liz, and Rachel, Jeff also. Oh, radical, sorry. I'm dyslexic, so if I read stuff quickly, it can come out a bit wrong. I will have to watch this back as been busy, but saw you and had to listen. So you on, I had to listen. Thank you, Joe. Also, as well, you can watch the full regression on my YouTube channel as well. So anyone else want to say anything else before we sort of give our details? So do you want to say how people can get in contact with you and see your arts and your wonderful YouTube channel, Stella, and follow you on social media?
Well, my name on here is like my brand. So Radical Cartoons is my website and my YouTube channel, and I'm also on Getter under that name. And that's it really. I'm not on Twitter or any of the other awful things like Facebook. I'm not on those things.
Excellent. Lana, do you want to say?
I have a website called lanagrabinskis.com, but I mainly use Facebook, so I'm down as Artist Lana. You can get me there, basically.
Lovely. And you also got Spirit Vibe as well. So
thank you, Paul.
Yeah,
I was going to bring that up too.
So the people begin to say night now. Do you want to say a little bit about the Warrens? Anything you want to say, Jeff?
Yeah, I have my personal stuff as Boo Productions Paranormal, and that's on Facebook and YouTube. But then I'm also a manager for the Warren Legacy Foundation, which Lana is a regional director for the UK, which she hasn't mentioned yet.
No, I haven't.
But yeah, we are. So it's warrenlegacy.com is the, if you're interested in becoming a member, if you need help with any paranormal stuff going on in your house, we have request forms on there to get help and to become a member. And then we also, our YouTube channel is Warren Files on YouTube.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jeff. Well, thank you everybody for watching. If anybody has any questions to me, feel free to reach out. I hope that you have a wonderful day tomorrow. And again, thank you everybody for watching. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to drop a comment as well. Thank you, everybody. You want to just stay on for 5 minutes afterwards after I end the stream, just so it's not just like, right, that's it, everybody, bye. Brilliant. Thank you now. Good night, everyone.
See ya. Thanks.